Remember these sage words. You're old, you're sad, get over it.
Sophia!
So what if you knew Jesus personally? Wake up and smell the coffee, you fossil.
My mistake. I thought since you looked like Yoda, you were also wise.
The sage is the sarcastic enigma, full of youthful enthusiasm and playfulness, with the wry wisdom she doesn't mind sharing with her closest friends. On the surface, she may not look like the aged, endless wells of inspiration we tend to associate with fictional sages like Pocahontas' grandmother Willow or King Arthur's Merlin. But within the context of the sitcom foursome and their corresponding archetypes, the wisecracker actually pretty neatly fills the sage archetype niche. From the Golden Girls, to Designing Women, to Living Single, to Sex and the City, to Insecure, we see a similar quartet of women characters playing similar roles and reacting to each other in similar ways across decades, from coast to coast, and within a wide variety of societal milieu. What these shows and their characters have in common is that they make use of the four most permeating feminine archetypes: the queen, the mother, the sage, and the lover. I covered the queen archetype already. Hit the link in the upper right corner to watch. Unlike stock characters or character tropes, archetypes don't only appear in scripted performances, but are deeply ingrained in our universal human culture. We see these women, queens, mothers, sages, and lovers, in every facet of our society, including art, religion, and politics. Swiss psychoanalyst Carl Jung developed the foundational writings about archetypes, calling them universal archaic images expressed in dreams, religious beliefs, myths, and fairy tales. These four archetypes must work together, as together they represent core elements of one whole feminine psyche. Here, we'll explore some of the deeper meanings, symbolism, and synergies between the sage archetype and her on-screen depictions.
Honestly?
Yeah, hit me with it. Don't hold back.
Well, you know that thing that you said about the founding fathers being religiously neutral? Well, they weren't. I mean, there was an awful lot of victimization of Jews and Catholics. At least that's the way I understand it. I don't mean to criticize. I am just a visitor.
No, don't be silly. Your point about the founding fathers is well taken. Now, I said religious neutrality was an ideal of theirs. I should have also pointed out that they fell very short of it.
I didn't mean to criticize.
Oh, are you kidding? I mean, you were actually listening. Yeah, I love that. You're the kind of person that really keeps me on my toes. Hope you come back.
On screen, the sage is found in the Golden Girls' Sophia Petrillo, Designing Women's Mary Jo Shively, Living Single's Maxine Shaw, Sex and the City's Miranda Hobbs, and Insecure's Issa Dee. Funny and quick-witted, all of these characters share an easy ability to get a laugh from their on-screen friends and the audience. As the four archetypes represent different elements of our psyche, the sage represents the mind. Sometimes her character is overtly brainy, like Harvard alumna Miranda and Maxine Shaw, attorney at law. Other times, her intellect is more homespun, like Sophia's fanciful Sicily stories that usually contain quite a bit of useful knowledge for her friends. Though not fully formed at the onset of Insecure, we see Issa ruminating a lot and the potential for great wisdom to unfold. Her early mirror raps are a window into her inner life, which is rich, creative, and full of pondering questions. Even if Issa doesn't always make the best decisions, she is the most in her head of all the characters on the show. And that's typical of the sage archetype, who can also be known as the magician or the wise woman. This person thirsts for knowledge of all sorts, facts and figures, knowledge of humanity and the human condition, of the spirit world, of philosophy, and of relationships. This collection of knowledge makes the sage wise, regardless of her age, and someone who is able to articulate her thoughts in a quick and often funny way.
I think he's broken.
What?
No, I read about it. He's breaking everywhere. I think it's sad. It's had enough. And if it could talk, it would make that sad Marge Simpson groan.
Yeah!
Because of this, the sage is sometimes given the role of the audience stand-in, saying what we might be thinking as she sits on the sidelines and observes the more fantastic storylines of the other archetypes. Sophia, the sage of the Golden Girls, is even named after the Greek word for wisdom, which can be seen in words like philosophy, meaning love of wisdom, and in ancient Greek philosophy and Christian theology. In the Eastern Orthodox and Catholic churches, Holy Sophia is the feminine manifestation of godly wisdom, a counterpart to the Holy Spirit. One thing I noticed about on-screen sages is how rare it is for them to be the main character. This is a product of their masculine counterpart, the magician's role in myth. In the hero's journey, a story arc concept coined by writer Joseph Campbell, the magician archetype appears, often fully formed and with zero background, to initiate the hero into a special world. Think Yoda, Gandalf, Dumbledore, or Furious Styles in Boys in the Hood. Blogger Irish Marsh describes the mentor figure as such. He says, in the hero's journey, the mentor archetype represents our higher self, the part of us that's wise and noble. They're our conscience, so to speak. Think for a moment about Jiminy Cricket in Pinocchio. He's an apparent manifestation of Pinocchio's conscience, constantly teaching and advising Pinocchio. So, in the story, the mentor stands for the highest aspirations of the hero. They're what the hero aims to be and aims to surpass. This hero-mentor dynamic plays out in sitcoms as well, with a special relationship the sage often has to the queen. Max and Khadijah, the respective sage and queen of Living Single, are best friends. Sophia and Dorothy, sage and queen of the Golden Girls, are mother-daughter. Mary Jo, a sage, becomes very close to her boss Julia, a queen, in Designing Women, although I'm not sure if they were actually best friends. In Sex and the City and Insecure, the sage is BFFs with the queen too. Sages understand the queen's desire for power and her ambition. Queens appreciate the sage's thoughtfulness and rely on her for wise counsel, just as the masculine king or hero needs a magician or mentor in his corner. All feminine archetypes can be mapped according to certain psychological polarities: extroversion or introversion, feminine or masculine, and to a corresponding natural element: earth, air, water, or fire. The sage is introverted, masculine, and represents the element of air. The sage is masculine because the air element is masculine. It's the element that represents the intellect, and it is cold and unfeeling, more concerned with ideas and knowledge and wisdom than in the sensual, like the queen, the sentimental, like the mother, or in action, like the lover. On this map of archetypes, the queen and the sage directly oppose each other. The sage is introverted and masculine, while the queen is extroverted and feminine. Polar opposites that are naturally drawn to each other and also bring out the best in each other. If each archetype represents a piece of a mature feminine psyche, what's the point of the sage? What does she have to teach us? Beyond knowledge and wisdom, the sage archetype represents female independence and the ability to radically transform. She aligns most closely with the virgin goddesses and mythical figures like Athena, Greek goddess of wisdom, and Artemis, Greek goddess of the hunt and the moon. It's worth noting that, as the Encyclopedia of Esoterica Astrology writes, The term virgin had a different meaning prior to Christianity, meaning self-contained. Also, vir means strong. There are slivers of these strong and independent goddesses in on-screen sages as well. Both Mary Jo on Designing Women and Issa on Insecure reel from the dissolution of long-term relationships early in their journeys on their shows.
You see this ashtray? This ashtray is approximately the size of a tiny stool that I sat on for 2 years. 8 hours a day, filing 3x5 index cards so that you could become a doctor. And the only time I got off that stool was to go to my waitressing job or to give birth to your child while you were scuba diving off the coast of Baja with a person named Martita.
You could make the case that both of their storylines are essentially about newfound independence as single women and the personal and professional transformation that comes from that freedom. We see both of them gain confidence in themselves and in their work, aided by their friends and their respective archetypal roles. On Sex and the City and Living Single, there is a deep personal transformation for the sages who started the show with successful careers, fully embodying the independence of the archetype. With both Miranda and Max career-oriented attorneys who initially do not prioritize romantic relationships as much as their friends do, their arcs find them becoming devoted mothers by the end of their shows.
All right, Maxine. What do you say we go back to your place? I think my boy here needs his rest.
Please, my girl is a night owl.
Another you? God would never be so cruel.
More than anything, the sage is the archetype of sisterhood and feminism. She has endured through the ages as a testament of the importance and power of sacred feminine knowledge and intimate friendships among women. Of all the 4 archetypes commonly depicted on television, she is the ride-or-die friend, the one who champions the pursuits of women, not in service to men or family or society, but in service to their personal growth and happiness.
How does it happen that 4 such smart women have nothing to talk about but boyfriends? It's like 7th grade with bank accounts. What about us? What we think, we feel, we know. Christ. Does it always have to be about them? Just, give me a call when you're ready to talk about something besides men for a change.
This is part 2 of 4 videos I'm creating that explore these 4 predominant feminine archetypes on screen. Part 1 analyzed the queen, and parts 3 and 4 will look at the mother and my personal favorite, the lover. Tell me what you think in the comments. What other television or film characters embody the sage? Where do you see the sage in myth, fables, or other stories? And be sure to check the description box for notes and references and further watching on feminine and masculine archetypes. Thanks for watching.